Hey y'all, it's Zokai, the modern day priestess, with a new season and a new episode of Modern Day Spiritualist. Tonight, I'm so excited to be chatting with my god sister, Omi Ayagba, about raising our young humans as spiritual beings. Let's welcome Ayagba. Welcome,
Hi.
welcome.
Hi. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
No, thank you for being here. So,
No,
tell
not
us a little bit about your journey.
well. My journey has been a very strenuous one. Growing up, it was very difficult for me to understand what I was going through.
Mhm.
I really didn't understand too much about the spiritual world. First, it was, oh my God, I'm hearing voices. Oh my God, I'm seeing things.
Mhm.
Um, Having dreams, and dreams were happening, a lot of deja vu. I met a young lady by the name of Madam Esther, and she led me to someone that assisted me with going on my spiritual journey.
Mhm.
And that's where I am today and has led me here today. And I have a much better understanding of it. It's best for me now because I have the ability to help my children along the way of when they see things or when they're having dreams and everything
Yeah.
like that. So it's been a real big help. It's been a real help dealing with the spiritual community, and you have a lot more insight, and you have the ability to have things explained to you. So that's been a real good thing.
It's so important being able to assist your children with things that they're seeing that they're going through that you didn't have the opportunity to. Why is it, in your opinion, important to raise your kids with a spiritual foundation in today's world, especially?
Well, the biggest thing is that they're gifted. um they don't understand that growing up in the spiritual community. um they can look at it as being something totally different with what they're going through. They don't understand. It would be something like puberty as a child would be going through. So, us as parents, as spiritualists, we should also assist our children with helping them on that spiritual journey. The same way where we educate them about
Mhm.
their bodies, the same way
Yeah.
we should educate them spiritually.
100% agree with that. That's so important.
you
Yeah.
know Unfortunately, there are times where you do have your children, they don't want to go on the same spiritual journey that you've chosen for yourself, and that's okay. But as a parent, the same way that you protect your child, you have that talk with them and you let them know, there are things that are in place and there are things that need to be done for that protection. And when they decide as to who they want to be spiritually when they grow up,
Mhm.
then that's the road that they will choose to take. But until then, the same way as a parental role where you're nurturing your child, and you're mothering your child, you're also going to do that in the spiritual sense too, and you're going to help them on that journey.
So, like always, your mottos have to be over here looking at my notes because
I do have some nosy ones.
I'm like, dang, why are they over here reading my notes? Now I can't even ask the question right. Okay. So you mentioned, when you have that conversation with them and letting them know it's for their protection, both of our kids are initiated into the same ATR. I know my conversation with my kids was probably way different than yours. Tell us about that conversation that you had with them when you were telling them what they were about to do.
Well, mine was a little bit different. The situation that I was placed in, I actually trusted someone with my spiritual faith, and I followed that person.
Mhm.
I did not listen into my intuition. And every time I questioned, it was always I was being disrespectful.
Mm.
Um, my children also had questions and the same feeling that they had. And when they would ask, it was always they were being disrespectful. So it was looking at me as a mirror, as I was not being a good role model spiritually for my children. But I went through blind faith and I trusted this person, and I went and I got initiated into Palo. And I also have my eldest daughter, I have my youngest daughter, and also my granddaughter. We are all initiated into Palo.
Mhm.
Um, and also myself and my youngest, we are in the Santeria religion. My oldest, she is old enough to decide on what she would like to do. And right now, this is not something that she chooses for herself or my granddaughter. So that is something that I have to respect. Um, but it was hard because I went and I got into the religion of Palo. And, I had my mom asking me questions.
Mhm.
My daughters were a little bit skeptical. It wasn't even anything that I had ever even heard of. But I went and I got in it. I love Palo. I love Santeria. I love my Santos.
Mhm.
It's not something that I would ever change. I don't think I would be the person that I am today or the spiritualist I am today if I did not go through what I went through in my life to get to where I'm at today. Um,
And we wouldn't know each other.
yes, yes. And I wouldn't change that for the world. I wouldn't, not one millisecond of it. I wouldn't. I would do it all over again just to know that you would be in my path. Um, my little one was initiated into Palo, where we just showed up at my tata's house, who was my godfather at that time, my tata. And Lord and behold, it was, hey, wake up. You're getting initiated today. Um, we had some real big heavy hitters from New York that came down, and she was initiated, and she was spectacular. She did awesome. She was
Mhm.
amazing. She's amazing. Um, all of my children, they're very gifted, especially
Mhm.
my granddaughter.
Let's
Um,
talk about those gifts.
let's see, my oldest, they're both very good with dreams. My oldest
Okay.
and my youngest. My oldest is very good with reading people.
Mhm.
See her as very reserved and very quiet, but in the meantime, she is reading you up and down.
Mhm.
Um, and she tries to be respectful because, as I said before, dealing with who we dealt with before, it was your children are being disrespectful. I didn't grow up in the Spanish household where we would say bendición. It wasn't that typical Hispanic home that I grew up in. My mom allowed us to choose if we wanted to go to church, if we didn't want to go to church.
Mhm.
Didn't put that, I wouldn't say pressure on us, but
Yeah.
something that was really brought up. Her goal was making sure that we were okay and alive living in New York. We did
Yeah.
what we had to do, and surviving. That was her goal, to be the best mom she could be. And she's amazing.
She is. I
Um,
love your mom. Shout out to mommy.
she loves you too. Um, but yeah, so a lot of views and points on how you look at that. It's just it's different, on how you look at it.
Yeah, because I was in the complete opposite. Like my parents, well, now they're pastors, but growing up before they were even pastors, it was get your butt up. We're going to Sunday school, whether you like it or
Yeah,
not. We're going to Bible class. We're going to be at church all doggone day.
right.
And,
The
that's just
only
what it
time
was.
that was ever implemented with me is when I would go to Puerto Rico to stay with my grandmother for the summers.
Mhm.
We would go to church every Sunday. And the thing was, growing up, I went to Puerto Rico learning English. And when I was in Puerto Rico, I forgot English and I learned full. So then when I got back with my mom, I didn't know how to speak English, but I didn't grow up with the Bible and learning Our Father and Hail
Mhm.
Mary. I didn't know all of that. So when I got into the religion and I even had to learn about my bóveda from scratch, I literally have my book and it's marked and I have tabs and it's highlighted. And it is like spectacularly put together. If there's a prayer you have to find, I have everything in order on how
Yeah.
I need to say, on what I need to read, what's the next prayer, what page it is. It is set and ready to go. So
Did you pass that on to them? Like, once you learned those things, were you like, "Okay, let me show you guys this because now I learned this and now I wanna show you this." Did you do that with them?
I did that with my youngest. She
Mhm.
does have her own spiritual book, where she has her, what is it, her prayers in, and that she follows. But like I said before, it was a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of bumping heads. um Her prayers were different from my prayers, so then it came into, does this guy really know what he's doing, what he's saying, what he's teaching? And then it came to the point where instead of my daughters going to him, they were asking me, and then that again was another form of disrespect. So I always tried during that point in time, hey, why don't you call your godfather? But they just stuck more towards me asking
Mhm.
me those questions. And the best response that I could give them, go with what spirit is telling you, because
Mhm.
it says you have to read that passage or that prayer at your boveda. Go with what you feel, with what you want, with what makes you feel good.
And
So
with
that,
her, I know she hears from her spirits because she's given me some readings before and she was spot dead on.
you remember that.
Yeah. So how does that what does that look like when they're seeing certain things? Are they like, "Hey mom, I saw this mortal walking by the other day." And then like what's your response like in the beginning when it first started happening?
I went through this. It really started to occur more often when Alyssa was born. When she was about 2, there
Mhm.
was a lot of spiritual activity in the home that I'm in now. Um, it was really bad. She was like a beacon of light. And unfortunately, we live by cemeteries. So
Mhm.
spirits would follow her home from the cemetery, even to the point where she went through an occasion where she was misbehaving in school. And then there was a little girl spirit that followed her. And then she named the girl spirit God. And I'm like, oh no,
Oh.
gotta go. Um, it was a really scary feeling, even to the point where she would see things come out of her closet. She would have night terrors. So I had the house blessed,
Mhm.
and then everything settled down. But still, at that point, I wasn't on my spiritual journey where I knew who I could actually turn to. I went to the church to try to get the girls baptized. Unfortunately, the Catholic Church said that my oldest was too old. She was maybe about 11 years old or so.
What?
Um, so, here you're going to the Catholic Church for assistance in getting your children baptized because you really don't know what to do, and they turn you away. So once I went ahead and I got the house baptized and stuff, and you know, um, I had the ability to keep up with doing sage in the house. And my
Mhm.
mom was the one that actually helped me move on the little girl spirit, that was attached to Alyssa, where she was just hellion part one. Um, it was just really bad. Like you couldn't even sit in the car because the little girl was sitting there and you were going to sit on her.
Oh my gosh.
To the point where I would get calls from school. Alyssa bit somebody. Well, why did you do that? Oh, because the little girl told me to. So it was a lot of that. And then I had a friend in New York. She's an amazing spiritualist. I had Alyssa where she had made a drawing, and it happened to be that exact drawing is what was terrorizing her, and it was in her closet.
Mm.
So the lady was able to do um, telepath from New York and
Mhm.
tell me exactly where the spirit was, because I used a lot of sage and stuff within the house, and I was able to get it out of the house.
Oh,
So
good.
that did
That's
help. Yeah.
crazy.
Yes.
What advice would you give to parents who are new to spirituality and they're noticing that their children have their gifts are starting to emerge? Like, what's your advice to them?
My advice would be don't ignore it. Um, because when I would go to my mom, it's nothing that we grew up in, like I said. So it wasn't anything that she had the ability to give me answers for, or that we were in a spiritual community that we had the ability to turn to. So all of that didn't start rolling out until I actually came to Florida, way later on, years later, until
Mhm,
Alyssa was already maybe 11 years old or so. I guess back in 2018. Um, Listen to them. That's the biggest thing. Listen to them. Ask them how they feel. Is there anything making them feel uncomfortable?
mhm,
How are their dreams? Are they scared? How do they feel? Um, Really, how, I don't know if anybody ever goes through the point where dealing with spirit at you feel drained. Just
yeah,
make sure you keep an eye out for them, because even though that would be something big, there's minor things that you can do to prevent that from happening and to help
mhm.
in that journey. So
That's great advice because it's so difficult, especially when you're not even sure yourself, what's going on with you. And then you
yeah.
have them and they're like, oh man, I had this dream, or I feel like there's something here or there. And at least with your kids, they come to you and they tell you, they'll
Mhm.
tell you. My son specifically, he sees everything, right?
Wow.
But he does not say. He won't tell me because there's this stigma of, "Oh, I'm gonna sound crazy," or "I shouldn't be seeing things, so why
Right.
am I seeing things?" And
And then
so just
sometimes you feel, is it my imagination?
right, right. Am I making it up? Yeah.
you you're second guessing yourself, and that's something I really need to come out of from doing. I should not second guess myself. If that
Mhm.
is what I'm seeing and that's what I'm being told, I need to continuously tell myself, you know what, you're not crazy. And this is what I get for reading all the psychology books before I got into spirituality. I think
Yeah,
it's the other way around, and it works
right.
better.
Yeah,
uh,
100%.
yeah.
What do you think about them being so young and starting on their spiritual journeys? How do you think that's helping them in their day-to-day lives? Or what do you think they're even learning from being spiritual so young?
Sometimes that worries me. Sometimes they do have spirits that need to be taught and need to be lifted, and
Mhm,
that's where you have to go for help and assistance in those aspects. um, I do believe that is something that would be very beneficial for them,
mhm.
but as stubborn children that I have, and they don't tend to listen. But what they do is, man, I should have listened because they already told me that, or they already showed me that was going to happen, in this situation. Or, man, I really should have listened, type of deal.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, if it's not the parent that's going to do it, it's always going to be one of your ancestors, or one of their spirits, or one of their guardians that's
For
going
sure,
to know.
for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I know that just a little bit well, see, your kids, they didn't have to make a transition, like my kids are from Christianity,
Hmm.
and I don't encourage them one way or the other. Some things I do have to enforce because it's my
Right.
responsibility to make sure that they're protected, in certain ways.
Yes.
But I don't force anything on them. So when I am doing, my boveda or doing something for Egun or my ancestors or whatever, I just do it and let them watch and ask questions or whatever. And so what I noticed was the more that I just made this a lifestyle,
Hmm.
they began to open up more and accept things more, and they had more questions. They were interested. And not too long ago, my daughter asked me if she could get her some cards. She wanted her own set
I
of
that
tarot cards.
I
I was so y'all don't know. Look, I was like jumping up and down, like, oh my God, yes, you can have all the cards you want to have. So I went and I got her her first set of oracle cards. I didn't do tarot. I don't want her really opening that door just yet. But just like some easy tarot cards. I think they're like animal cards or something like that. But anyway, so she's sitting and she's doing her little readings, and I'm so proud. Like, oh my God, look at her. Whereas my son, he's a little bit,
a little bit more
slower.
reserved looking
Yeah,
back.
very reserved. Yeah, he's just like, "Oh, okay, so we giving food to the ancestors. That's what we do. Oh, okay, all right." How do you encourage them to continue on their paths?
I have to say the one that I have the easiest time with is with my granddaughter because she's currently staying with me now and my eldest daughter. So what I try to do is a certain day out of the week, everybody has to do spiritual baths. Everybody
Mhm.
has to do bitter baths. Everybody has to do sweet baths. Everybody has to do white baths. No ifs, ands, or buts. Everybody.
Yeah.
Once they go ahead and they hear my granddaughter, hey, Yaya, can you come and help me with my spiritual bath? That already is a prompt for her mom and her aunt to go ahead and do the
Mhm.
spiritual bath.
I
So
love that.
instead of the elders learning from what is it? Instead of the young ones learning from the elders are learning from the young ones.
Yeah,
So
like it says in church.
hmm
That's what they say in church, like, in the babies, the children shall lead them.
yes, yes, and
Yeah.
it's been wonderful. Ever since I've had my santos in my house, my granddaughter will ask questions, and I answer whatever questions I do have the ability to allow her to learn.
Mhm.
Being Mondays with changing the water, lighting the candles, um, any of that that's done on Mondays. She assists me with doing that. And I explain to her what it is for, even if
Mhm.
using sage in the house or even lighting incense.
Yeah.
She's aware of what that is, and they do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you feel when you see their development in that way?
You know what? It just gives me such love and light to my heart
Right?
to
Yes.
do it. It's like, I don't know, it's like looking at a motion picture. It's something that you feel in your heart that's good and that's right. That's
Mhm.
love. Um this is the road that you chose, that you know that is correct for you, that you want to lead for the rest of your life. And just seeing your young offspring and just doing that, it's the best gift that you could ever have. The best, you
I
know.
agree. Yeah.
And it's crazy that they're just sometimes equally or even more talented than the own parent. And you know and it's a wonderful feeling. It's just
Yeah.
get them to help them develop it and understand it more. It's where we
Yeah. I get that 100% because when I look at them and I see like, dang, they gonna be a badass at this or that, I get so excited. Like,
yeah
yes, when mommy's old and tired and can't do no more, I know like, okay, that girl can do this or my boy can do that. So I'm covered. We're good, right?
yeah. It's the best feeling.
Yeah, and it's like you want to ensure that you leave a legacy because for us, I feel like for our generation especially, there was such a big disconnect and a big gap.
Yes.
Nobody was talking about certain things. Everything's a secret, and
Yeah.
we're kind of on our own trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
We're trying to get, direct downloads from the ancestors, from the deities, whatever. And now it's like we are the ones that can bridge the gap, so to speak. We're those pioneers, even though we have ancestors that did it, but because for so long it was either not happening or such a huge secret, nobody
Yes,
even knew.
yes,
It's like now we can carry the torch and to know that, okay, at least I got one out of the two. I don't know what the boy is gonna do, but I got one out of the two, that will keep it going and keep the lineage
right.
going strong because these traditions are so beautiful.
They they're beautiful. And one main focus as to why I want to continue to do it, I strongly believe that um, whatever you learn in this life and you do your best to fix for what was not done in your past life, you bring it
Mhm.
to the next. So if I
Right.
break that um, with my children and they can bring that also into their lives, their next life is going to be better than the one that they're in now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's going to be much, much better. It's going to be easier for them to learn, you know.
Right.
So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to that.
That is exciting. Especially also just thinking about the fact that we are through them able to break a lot of generational curses.
Yes, yes, yes. That is very big also. But then it's unfortunate that whatever curses that you're dealing with, they kind of still linger about because you still have that envy. And it could be the smallest thing because you have a smile or you walk into a room with your head held high and you're still carrying around that curse because they're looking at you as to, well, why does she think she's better than everybody else? But I teach my children, you walk with your head held high. You come from royalty. This
Right.
is royalty house. You are queens. We
Mhm.
are no less than that. You come from greatness. And that is what we focus on and that is what we work on and that is who we are. And that is what I want them to view themselves as being, no less than that.
Especially in today's time, it's so important. And so I want to ask you in closing, what does it mean to you to be a modern day spiritualist?
What it means to me to be a modern day spiritual. I don't want to be as my previous godparents were. I don't want to be that type of godparent. I want to listen. I don't want to criticize. I do want respect, as I would give respect.
Mhm.
I want to learn. I'm willing to listen and understand and learn. I don't want to criticize. I don't want to point fingers. Um, I want this to be a very positive experience as it was not positive for me before. And that's why I am in a much better place now and I am happier now. This is how it should be.
Mhm.
And I know things are going to get much, much better. And I look to the future as to what holds for me because I know it is spectacular. And most important of all, I really want to give back and assist those that really need assisting and really
Mhm.
need help. That's my
Wow. Beautifully said.
thank you.
Um, some key notes that I want us to remember from Ayagba is that when your children are coming to you, listen to them.
Yes.
Don't make them feel a way about whatever it is that they are experiencing. And if it's something that, you can't handle yourself, find somebody to reach out to,
Yeah.
to help you with that path. And I want to thank you so much for joining me
You're
tonight.
very, very welcome. My pleasure. My pleasure. I miss you so much. I
Miss you
can't see
too.
you again. I miss my babies. Tell them I love them
I will.
so much. Thank you.
I will. Okay. And to our family, thank you guys for listening and taking
Thank
this
you.
journey with us. Until next time, peace, everybody.
Bye. Take care.